All right, everyone. This is Dr. Harris. We're here in the studio one more time. We're here. There's been a lot of moving parts that's going on around the country. I have my co-host with us here this evening, our revolutionary sister, power to the people, Black Panther style. And it's just an honor to be on at the table with her.
Same.
How's everything going today, Aline?
You know, it's been a long week, and it's only Thursday. We have lost so many good people in this world. I found out in the last week or so, we lost a very good warrior and friend. His name is James Bell. He is the founder of the Haywood Burns Institute for Juvenile Justice in the Bay Area. And this brother worked for 25 years for Youth Law Center before he opened up the Burns Institute to honor his mentor. And this brother, I met him in 1980, y'all. And the great thing about somebody like Brother James, who you met, is that he never changed. And I remember him being such a workaholic when it came to underprivileged youth, as they called them back in the day, marginalized, black and brown, Asian. And he would fly all over the country defending juvenile felons and whatnot. And I used to ask him, I'd say, James, how do you dedicate yourself to all of this with such a passion that never lets up? And he looked at me and he said, Aline, if I could save one child, just one, it'd all be worth it. Wow. So this brother died. He had esophageal cancer. And I missed an opportunity to visit him down in Altadena in December. And when I'm still kind of numb, y'all, because when the world loses good people and good warriors, you have to stop and think about it. Just like the world, a lot of our Catholic brothers and sisters are mourning the passing of Pope Francis. And there's a lot of naysayers out there, he protects pedophiles, this, that. Can you imagine, you're sitting at the top of the heap of the Catholic Church, and you have the wherewithal to talk about poor people and marginalized people, and he did that. He was a very humble kind of person. So we have lost giants. Locally in California, we lost Brother James Bell. The world lost Pope Francis. And in the meantime, Rev, people like you and me are still in the trenches fighting for a better life for the children and the marginalized people who happen to live in Mississippi, Fresno, Alabama. So, I'm tired, and I blame it all on this brother here. I was retired from community work, but because of his passion, it's hard to say no. Because he's sneaky. He'll say, well, can you just do such and such and such? You good bro, I do. And the next thing you know, you're doing 3 or 4 things and you're happy to do it. You're a happy warrior. So I'm a happy warrior and it's all his fault. But I'm so happy that he is who he is, cut in the mold of the Black Panther Party, cut in the mold of brothers from the Nation of Islam. Because we have to have warriors in our community, y'all. Especially elders like myself. When trouble comes, we can't even run for it. Babies and old people, what we gonna do? We need soldiers to help us. And I'm so grateful to know that there are good brothers like this one. And there are many in Fresno, more than I thought. We had a young brother on here a few weeks ago, King Culture. And that brother is cut from the same kind of mold. He has a location. He's giving out food. You know, I'm sure he's giving out wisdom to the youngsters. And he's looking out for his community. And that's what we have to do. So, Rev, let me ask you, how is it different now, our black community so far as looking out for one another? What differences have you noticed from when your grandma Bertha was raising you and your cousins, your brother? You know, what's the difference that you've seen?
I thought we were gonna have a nice, humble show until you asked me that question.
That's my job. That is my job.
You know, it's funny because I was thinking about sometimes as a leader you just have to stop and rewind the tape to see how far you have come. And being in West Fresno, I really started out under people like Miser Keels, Deacon Foster, George Finley,
Okay.
Sudie Douglas.
Strong woman, Sudie
My
Douglas.
grandmother, may she rest in peace, Bertha Harris, you know, Precious Widow, you know, Barbara Hunt. You know, the list goes on and on of people who are the pillars of this community. As a child, watching them and not really understanding what they were doing at the time, but not understanding the evil and devils that was at City Hall that I didn't know as a child. Board of Supervisors, Police Department, Sheriff Department, you know, all these government entities that were supposed to be to help empower our community. Even my grandma, may she rest in peace, precious, you know, all those organizers and activists, I just sit back and I just think about them, and I have to just praise them for the work that they did up to the point to where they was called over to the other side. And I didn't know at the time that they were, I didn't know I was going to be the chosen one at the time. You know, I'm just going to meetings with my grandma. But it came a point in time where we grow up. Maturity sets in. And one day, instead of playing and knocking over chairs, I stopped and I listened. I said, why are all these black folk hollering and screaming at all these white folks at a table of 4 or 5 people? And I didn't understand what the dynamics of what was going on in the community at that time. I'm still riding skateboards and popping willies and climbing trees and pomegranates and roadblocks. I mean, that's where I was at.
Yeah, man.
But I stopped and listened, and I understood that there was an injustice going on here in West Fresno. We had no garbage pickup. We had no street lights. The streets were dirt roads with big potholes. You know, tearing up your car.
That's true.
You know, when it rained, we out there playing football. Didn't know no better because that's all we knew. Out in the rain, in the mud. Not knowing what equality was. Not knowing the piece of Fresno, the tales of two cities. The haves and the haves not. And so those folks during that era of time, those names that I had said to you earlier, they were the warriors. Mr. Kelly, the barbers, I mean, it's just so, I mean, James Tucker. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on.
It does. And people forget that, really. But when you talk about being a child, going to these meetings, I'm trying to figure out how is it that you could understand the inequality at a young age, and then you have other people who are your age, because he's quite a bit younger than me, y'all. So I'm like, how is it that they choose to say, well, you know what, I'm just going to worry about myself, and I'm not going to worry about the greater community. There's a lot of classism that happens in Fresno. You know, I was at a public hearing about a week and a half ago now. Urban Valley Institute had a public hearing at City Hall. And I asked the question. I had to go first because I knew if I sat down, I wouldn't be able to get back up. So I asked, I said, you know, how many of you black people in here that's making over $100,000 a year, when was the last time you talked to somebody that was on welfare, that was getting SNAP benefits? You could have heard a rat piss on cotton. It was quiet. It wasn't nothing but crickets. And it's crabs in a barrel. And it's so sad, Rev, because we're fighting over crumbs from the white man's table and doing each other dirty in order to do that. So I think, you know, it's commendable that you heard the inequalities and said, well, what can I do to alleviate the suffering of my people, when other people are like, hey, I'm going to get mine. I hope everybody else gets theirs.
Well, you know, during that era of time, I believe that generation of leadership was fighting for the shopping center.
Yes.
And as we know, West Fresno now is being gentrified, and every black monument or black sculpture or building is being torn down.
Yep, it is.
Including the Hinton Center, which Sudie Douglas and all of them helped establish the Hinton
Yeah,
Center.
I was on the board for a couple of years when I first moved back to Fresno.
And to show you how those folks was trying to create something to pass down to us. See, the city was financing for us renting the Hinton Center as a community center for the community in West Fresno. And then they pulled out.
Right.
And when the city pulled out, they pulled out all the resources and funding. And so what's going to happen then? Well, the building is just going to collapse and be dilapidated. And so there's been things intentionally done to black folk in this community. Like, and I don't know about you, Aline, every day or every week somebody is calling, sending letters, talking about, I want to buy your property.
Every day.
Single freaking
every day.
week. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And what's sad about this is that I seen I seen the handwriting on the wall. Right. I believe Johnny Nello, who was one of my mentors.
Johnny is a trip, a very, very strong black man.
He was the mouthpiece for black folk.
Yeah, he was.
And he wasn't liked. And I teach people that leadership is not about being liked. There's many people that don't like me. And if I was to ask them why they don't like me, they could even tell me why they don't like me. Leadership is something that I believe you lead by example.
Right.
Right. And when you lead, you have to understand. That's why the Bible says, put on the whole armor of God. That you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Even though I pastor a church, you know, quote unquote, there's still things that even going in the ministry, right, that people don't like each other.
Right, that's
I
true.
may preach a sermon that's too potent once, and I'm not giving you that sugary side of ministry, and you have a problem with me. And so I think that the fiber of West Fresno is from the black perspective. And I'm not, and we know that West Fresno is diverse.
Yes, it is.
But I'm talking about from the black perspective, we don't own a damn thing in this community now. Everything that Miser Keels and Deacon Foster and George Finley, and I give my props on Sudie Douglas, your mother as well. You know, all those black preachers during that time, like Reverend Dahl and
Reverend Garrett.
Reverend Garrett and all of them, they were gatekeepers trying to hold the gate for the next generation to come in.
That's right.
This is where we have failed for whatever the reason. We have failed passing the baton to the next generation, and then the next generation sells out
Exactly.
to the power structure to need or individualism for their own self-gratification.
That's true.
Right? To where then we, as you said earlier, the masses of the community don't benefit, but an individual benefit. These politicians in this region here, Mississippi, Fresno, Cal, Alabama, has intentionally destroyed black people. Intentionally.
They have done that. You know, and it's funny you say that, Rev, because when I was at this Urban Valley Institute meeting, the big thing that they were talking about was entrepreneurship, you know, SBA loans, and that's a great thing. But there were over 150 black businesses in West Fresno when I was coming up. You know, we had juke joints like the Juicy Pig and Hunt's and a lot of other places, hole in the wall over on, you know. So, and we had the Legion, you know, we had a lot of different places. We had hair salons, barbershops, gas stations, your dad owned one. I mean, in addition to, you know, all these black churches, we had attorneys and doctors who had offices in West Fresno because that's where their patients and their clients were. And we were redlined over here, and we made it work. Just like, you know, Black Wall Street in Tulsa. When we got integrated, people moved away and forgot to support black businesses, and here comes redevelopment in model cities and killed West Fresno. Eminent domain came in, took a lot of people's houses, and I'm saying all this to paint a picture. Rev, you know what I'm talking about. So now, West Fresno, so far as black people are concerned, has been decimated, and now it's being gentrified. So people are buying property really cheap. I get phone calls and letters and postcards every day. Rev is right. They want to buy cheap, renovate, rent, or sell high. Everybody's just waiting for high-speed rail and whatever's happening in downtown Fresno. And they have killed the heart of black Fresno. Perfect example, Cesar Chavez Boulevard. Edison High School that has churned out some of the best athletes in the world now sits on Cesar Chavez Boulevard when they could have left it California, where the Edison Social Club was, where Cesar Chavez held UFW meetings, but they chose not to do that. They chose, the power people chose not to do that. So here we are in 2025. One of the first things that my mother said when she tells the story, when she would tell the story of her and my father coming to Fresno on 48, couldn't find a place to finance, you know, use his GI Bill, had to go all the way to Merced to a little finance company called Knudsen Mortgage to get redlined in the Edison Heights. And she said, don't ever sell this house. If you want to rent it out, that's fine, but keep it in the family so you'll always have some place to come home to. And somehow, we've gotten away from that. Because in order to build generational wealth, you have to have a foundation. And also used to put a rev that, you know, the American dream for a lot of black people is an American nightmare.
Exactly. And again, you know, we you can dip back into slavery, you can dip back into Black Wall Street, you can dip back to all the 40 towns that were built by black folk in this country,
Right.
blood, sweat, and tears, and then not to talk about Allensworth,
Oh my
which is
goodness.
down there, which
Yes.
was intentionally destroyed. You know, we can still continue to talk about the park that in New York. Forget the
Central,
name.
not Central Park?
I believe so. That was a black community, and then it went in
That's
and
right.
wiped out the entire black community. You can still have a conversation about Georgia and Savannah, I believe, Lake Lanier, I believe that's the name of the lake. And a black town still sits underwater.
Wow.
That was intentionally flooded by white folk. You can still go to Alabama and you could find the same thing, the same scenario, that a black town sits underwater. Now today, people take their boats, they go out there and they have fun and jet skiing, but a black town sits underwater. See, no one wants to talk about and I hear this all the time, and he was telling me about some lady, I don't know if her name was Heather or something, but so you said about, well, I don't want to talk about
The past.
I don't want to talk about, well, hell, the past, we got black folks in the condition that we in now.
That's right.
Right? If your people had destroyed the things that our people built for us, maybe the scenario would be different now, right?
Exactly.
I mean, and you could just keep going on from story to story to story to story, and not to talk about the banks. The banks, we have banks, and I remember Keith Kelly did a study one time when he was here. I wish I could get my hand on that document. And he did a survey on banks in West Fresno. And the biggest bank that blacks used was Bank of America,
Right.
which now is closed.
Right.
That's where black people went on Monday morning and church folk to get their money or put money in.
Right.
Keith Kelly did a study on these banks, and it came to find out that Bank of America got an F. Got an F for not putting out loans in the black community.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was a list of banks that he had F straight up, right? And so, and then when we look at things, we say, well, all the service stations in our community is owned by non-black.
The liquor stores.
The liquor stores are non-black. The owner of Marcus, he's a black brother, I know him. But look at Marcus Pharmacy now. Marcus now, I don't know if they sold it, leasing it, but it's to an Arab. I mean, and so, you know, we've been here over 400 years, and we still cannot get any justice. And I feel that strongly, that our unity with black, I feel strongly that unity for black people is our liberation, right? But I also feel, because I tell Dr. Kennedy all the time, I said, you know, it was this white man European school system that was created in America,
Exactly.
right? That he created the curriculum, right, to decide what he gonna teach,
Exactly.
So when you're in control of that, then you control the mind
Right.
of that child, right? So go to school, get a good education, and and continue to be a slave.
See.
But never go to school, get an education, and open up your own business. See, that's a mindset. And black people in this region, we spend too much time trying to please white folk. We spend too much time trying to be like non-black people. You forget your culture. That's why the city of Fresno, Les Kimmer, may rest in peace. He's the one that started that march downtown, right? In this, I believe it was the 60s, he started that march, you know.
The MLK March,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And so it was created, organized black. and then white folks came and snatched it
Sure
and
did.
started financing it. So all money is not good money.
That's it right there,
All
y'all.
money not good money.
All money is not
Because
good money.
when they started, and you remember the Human Relations Commission,
I certainly do.
Dr. Kapoor and all these people, and it was Alan Archery was the one who dismantled the Human Relations Commission, because the Human Relations Commission was for the people
Exactly.
and a sounding board about what's happening to us. But
Exactly.
then again, white folks come again.
Well, Alan Archery was totally anti-black. Folks, I had a conversation with Archery one time at Hidden Center. There was a meeting. People were upset. And I walked up to him and I said, so, Mr. Mayor, what are you going to do about everything that was... He said, you know, he was mad, angry. He said, you know, black people, y'all make a lot of noise, but you don't have any follow-up. And I said, you know what? That's not true, but I'm not going to stand here and argue with you about that. Because we've had everything in the kitchen sink thrown at us in Fresno. And everything that Rev is talking about with the Human Rights Commission is true, but when you have anti-black elected officials working against you, and you're only, what, 6%, might have been, of the population, I have to take my hat off to people like Jim Aldridge and Les Kimber, Joe Williams, who ran EOC. And EOC is in trouble right now, but it's not in black hands right now either. So solving these problems when they are throwing everything at you but the kitchen sink is difficult. And unity, I'm trying to find out, pardon me, how we get it, how we keep it, because you need to be showing up for each other, and not just when things are easy. It's easy to show up for somebody when the sun is shining. It's hard to show up for them at night when it's raining.
Well, you know, when I look at all those old timers, they were in the trenches.
Yeah, they were.
Every day. I remember George Family at City Hall, council chambers, you know, he had disrupted me. Barbara Hunt, they laughed at her. You want to know what's interesting about Barbara Hunt? Two things about Barbara. Barbara Hunt loved black people. She loved people, but she loved black people.
She did.
And she was always at City Hall at every meeting,
Everyone.
questioning everything that they did.
She was
And
smart.
them white folks down at City Hall would laugh at her. I seen it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
They would laugh and they would chuckle at her. They would laugh how she dressed. They would laugh at the comments she would say. And maybe she wasn't fluent with talking quote unquote proper like white folks. But she spoke the way she spoke from her heart, from a black perspective. And I respect
the
that.
truth too.
And those people just laughed at her, every mayor, every city councilor, every city manager. And do you know, after all of laughing at our sister who she was advocating for West Fresno,
Right.
she was a business owner too.
Yes,
with
she
Hunt's
was.
Cafe. And I'm going to get to Hunt Cafe in a second. When she died, can you believe that them goons downtown had the audacity to create a proclamation in her name and give it to the family? After they just humiliated her for years, coming down. See, that's the type of leadership that's gone now. And you know, and I don't really believe that we're ever going to get it back with this next generation of our black youth, because a lot of them are so messed up right now that, not all of them, but a lot of them are messed up right now, because once they leave, they don't come back.
Yeah.
And if everybody just keep leaving and leaving and leaving and don't come back, then who's going to stay back to fight the good fight?
That's the black brain drain I was talking about at that meeting.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And let me get the Hunts now. I was, the Hunt family owned a lot of that property
Yeah, they
on
did.
Walnut.
Yeah, they did.
We know the family got sick, Barbara passed away. I don't know all the dynamics that happened in the family. But here's what I do know. Hunt's Cafe had been there, was a historical site for many, many years.
Yeah.
People played pool, they had parties there, they had bands there, blues, all that stuff there. That was for the black community.
That's right.
It was a business created with a vision to serve our community.
Yep.
Can you believe that I was talking to Robert or somebody, and he said, there's a party over in Hunt's. And I said, a party in Hunt's? He said, yeah, there's going to be a party, a birthday party or something like that. I said, the Hunt's is still operating the cafe? Because I remember they closed down.
Right, that's what I thought.
And he said, well, yeah, it was closed down. But the moms across the street, who owns from Grove all the way to Church and all the way back to Fruit, bought Hunt's property.
Wow.
So now a historical site that the creative of black folk is now in the hands of another culture. And they say, hey, you can still come back, but you got to pay us.
Yeah, your money's green, so we'll take it. You know, Rev, see, this is why it's not, we can't just go to meetings, we got to do the follow-up, the Autry Mayor Bubba was saying that we never do. And I'm saying that because Miguel Arias had a town hall meeting over at this FCC satellite campus over here. And do y'all know that for the 10 acres that's behind that school, it's like a horseshoe, they want to put in a park, they want to put in walking trails, they want to put in all this stuff. Ain't nobody said nothing about black businesses coming there or anything like that. And they're going to put Starbucks on the corner of MLK and Church. And it's going to be a drive-through that's adjacent on the same side of the street as the college and across the street from Gaston. So they're anticipating a lot of business. And I was like, well, couldn't they have found an independent coffee shop to do that? Oh, well, yeah. But what I got from that meeting was they're not going to tear up the Westgate's senior apartments. At least this is what he said in the meeting. They're not, Hidden Center is going to be torn down at the behest of the executive team at Hidden Center. They voted to do that. The team did.
Another black historical site that
right.
the ancestors
Exactly.
created for the next generation is now being destroyed.
Right. And black people really think that, it's going to get rebuilt. I got to see it to believe it. I hate to be a naysayer. But we have got to speak up and be willing to fight. Our parents and grandparents had to. They didn't have a choice. For example, Fresno High, still standing, retrofitted for earthquakes. My mom wanted to do the same thing with Edison, the ivy-covered facade, the beautiful building. And what have we got now? We got something that looks like a prison over there. Those pods were built when I was going there. And everybody hated them. Everybody. But they didn't have enough political power. So I say to black people, all power to the people. If you want change, and remember, if it had not been for black politicians in this town, brown politicians coming up behind them, Chicanos and Moms, Misty Herb, the Mom sister that just got to be superintendent of Fresno Unified, they spent all this money looking for everybody else, and they still get somebody that's been with the district for 30 years. I don't understand what the problem is.
Well, I understand it. This is one big damn plantation. That's what it is. And if you have a plantation, then you're able to control the narrative and then control people. The problem that's always been since the old timers died off and passed the baton to the next generation is that we don't own that.
Sure don't.
We don't own no land. I'm talking about, when I say own, I'm talking about with deed.
Yes.
Okay? I ain't talking about rent. I'm talking about owner. See, there's a difference between being a property owner
Yep.
and being a renter.
That's right.
That's why all these calls are coming to people in West Fresno because they want to buy our property
That's
cheap.
right. Cheap.
Not going to give you the value of what it's worth.
No.
Or buy it cheap and think you're a damn fool to sell it.
Yep.
Right? Oh, well, you know, it's a property community and they don't have no money anyway. And they don't understand business. They don't understand equity. They don't understand employee second, all that type of stuff. And these are the things that we're dealing with right now. So I don't even, at this point, you know, respectfully, sending our kids to a public education school system, to me, is the most dumbest thing we can do. Because they're programming them for them. They're not programming them for our kids. So that's why independent schools like Freedom School, that we teach our own curriculum, and that we control the narrative of our students going to HBCU colleges, understanding ag, understanding science, understanding, you know, all these different types of things that we teach, landscaping, janitorial.
All of that. Etiquette, we do it all. Hygiene, we do all of that.
Yeah, and so but when you become integrated, you instead of being independent, you lose a lot.
You really do.
You lose a lot. And so, oh, well, you know, why you gotta dress like that? And why you gotta do this? Because it's my culture.
Exactly.
Why?
And why do we even have to explain it? Why do we even have to explain it to them? One thing that I have to say, people are all up in arms about them getting rid of the education department on the federal level. I say good. Throw it back to our communities where we can teach our own kids, because one thing that I learned from my mom, who only had an 8th grade education out of Texas, rural Texas, she said one thing about black teachers: they ain't letting you pass unless you know it. They love you enough to keep you there until you know it. So when she came out west with the 8th grade education, it was, she said, I knew as much as somebody who had graduated from the 12th grade in California, which was true. Which was true. And that is why our kids that come through Freedom School and go to HBCUs, I was so proud of my great niece Amari when you asked her Saturday, where are you going to college? And she said, Howard University. And I just said, and this is without prompting from her mom, who was there, or myself, or Reverend Harris, who's known her since she was this high.
And that's the thing, Aline, is that we must have to, and we have allies that's non-black, and we appreciate them for
We
all
sure do.
the work that they do and stand by us, and, you know, a lot of the colleagues that's Caucasian or whatever terminology you want to use, you know, they know how to use their white privilege to benefit black folk, because they understand that they white skin get them into doors
That we can't get in.
that we cannot get into. So now I want to talk about solutions now. Solutions now. I mean, we could talk about the problem till Christ come back, or till it starts yelling and rain.
Come on.
But we have to talk about it.
Yes.
That's why I was bothered when you told me this lady, Heather, I think that's her name. Heather
Yes.
told you that I don't want to talk about the past. And I think
She was convinced that she had the solution to our problem that Freedom School is not marketed properly, that, you know, that the name Freedom School is off-putting. And I'm like, you know what, we are hitting our demographic, because Freedom School, while we accept and welcome everybody, children of all colors, if they come to us, they're going to learn African and African American history along with the rest of the curriculum. And so we're hitting our demographics. We're not trying to pander to somebody that does not look like us. If they want to come, that's fine. You know, we accept everybody. Foster kids, former gang members, two-parent homes, single-parent homes. We accept everybody, but we're not changing our curriculum because we are unapologetically black people. We black.
Well, the thing is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And that's what it sounds like to me. And I hope she don't ever get in a conversation with me about Freedom School, because I'm the founder of Freedom School. Now, we have put out quality kids that even come back and mentor the next crop of kids that's headed to college. So if it's broke, don't fix it. Leave it alone. Don't not come into my community telling me what I need to do when your people are the one that destroyed everything we built. Don't do that. Mm-hmm. I'll tell everybody, don't do that. You'll see a side of me that you won't ever want to see, right? And I don't carry myself in a threatening fashion, but you would not come up and disrespect me or my community, telling me from your white perspective what you think I should or shouldn't be doing. It's not Aline, it's not my job to teach white folks why they shouldn't be racist.
Exactly.
They need to figure that out for themselves. Our time has to be spent teaching our black folk why you need to stay with your culture and stop trying to act white and all this other stuff with other people. You don't, at the end of the day, you still a nigga to them.
Thank you.
If you have on a suit,
don't matter.
if you sagging,
don't matter.
if you have on shorts,
don't matter.
Whatever you got, at the end of the day, some of their hearts, you still a nigga.
That's right.
And so when a black man or a black woman understand who they are and confident in who they are, exactly, you can stand up and speak truth to anyone, and that's what I do. That's what Aline does, and we unapologetic about it, period. Okay? Now, solution talk. Solution is that we have to start businesses.
Yep.
The problem is white banks is not going to fund our businesses.
No.
The second problem is pastors in black communities need to come together and start a business. Now, I can give you a business right now that's low cost. You can start it from your house. You can do one is cook it.
That's true.
Cook it. When Maria was here, she told me that the state of California, may she rest in peace, the state of California passed a bill that we could cook out of our homes.
Cottage industry, that's right.
Okay?
She's right.
She told us that. And you could make X amount of thousands of dollars. A bill that was passed through Sacramento. Okay? Number two, black churches, which is a very difficult thing to do, has to tell their congregation, we, again, quote unquote, we're going to open up a tire shop. This is how easy it is. And we're going to, let's just use 5 pastors. Each church is going to invest $1,000 into this business.
Okay.
And we're going to write up a business plan.
Right.
And we're going to fund this ourselves. We want to hire people from our congregation to run this tire shop.
Right.
Those 5 pastors tell their congregation, don't let me see you somewhere getting your tire changed in another white tire shop. You take your tire over to the black tire shop.
That's right.
So that we continue the Black Wall Street piece. Because let me tell you something. Every other culture is doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Hispanics are doing it.
Yep.
Asians are doing it.
Yep.
Arabs are doing it.
All
The
of them.
only people that's not doing it is us because we have a lack of knowledge and understanding. We know better. But when you constantly trying to integrate yourself
Come on.
with other folk, so I ain't never seen a wolf trying to integrate with a giraffe. Chickens don't run with chickens.
Come on.
Alligators don't run around with turtles.
That's right.
Huh? They all stay in their lane or where they at. But when it comes to black folks in America, we for some reason we think, oh, we got to move out of the neighborhood and we got to move into a white neighborhood.
And
But
nobody.
when you see white folks leaving their neighborhood, moving into our neighborhood, no, they'll buy the house and land, but they ain't moving in there.
Nope.
They gonna rent it out to make money so they can stay where they at.
And I say this.
It's just so
If you want to
silly.
move somewhere else, that's fine. But when it comes time to spend your money, spend those dollars with a black business. And there are more, this is the thing that get me, there are more black restaurants serving soul food in North Fresno than there are in West Fresno. I don't know. People are afraid to come to West Fresno. I say this. I've lived in the Bay Area, and I lived in a diverse, area there. I was living in Oakland when the Highland Slasher was up there, okay? I don't want to have to live in an area where I'm afraid to live around my own people. I'm that kind of old school. So when people say, oh, it's dangerous in West Fresno, really? There's more crime in North Fresno than there is in West Fresno.
If you look at police data, it will show you that there's more crime up north than it is down south. Period. That's their data. And I know they ain't putting all the data in. But even then, it shows that that's that. But if the pastors were like,
Yes,
the old,
right.
see, I'm going to go back to the old pastors, Gary,
Come on.
Paul,
Dog.
B.T. Lewis, Reverend Dog. See, those pastors doing that era understood unity. Les Kimber.
Yeah.
They understood unity and the power that he had.
That's right.
If we just come to this table right here that I'm sitting around, put all these chairs around here, close the door, and we're not going to leave it until we come up and agree on an agenda. And now we're going to start that business there. And I'm going to tell black people right now, locally and across the country, stop calling your business a small business. Stop calling it small. That was great. See, in this word minority, black folks ain't never been a minority. White folks been minority. We ain't never been. So, do you want to get this play of words and all this type, you want to make us feel like we're less than? No, we ain't less than nothing.
Rev is completely right. And here's the thing, y'all. This is my piece.
It's silly.
We cannot use colonial mindset language to push ourselves forward into a better future. We can't use colonial mindset and their language to push ourselves into a better future. We cannot do it. We cannot do it. We have to start taking responsibility to teach our kids good home training. Yeah, let them go to school, but when they get home, they need to be back in school learning something else. I mean, look at the Japanese. They go to school, and then on the weekends they go into more school. Okay? It used to be like that in the old days when I was coming up. You had chores. You ain't getting paid for the chores, but you had them. It's a different world. We have to take responsibility for our kids because the world don't love our kids. We have to love our kids enough to educate them the way they need to be educated.
I think Dr. Kennedy told me that in Atlanta, her neighbor. I think he's Arab or something. And one morning she was walking and she said, the little kid looked like he had books or something. She asked him, where's your child going this Saturday? Just going to school. Going to school. Today's Saturday. I know.
Yeah.
See, we have to invest in ourselves. And that's what Freedom School does. We invest in ourselves. I don't get permission And Aline don't get permission from the mayor. We don't get permission from the city council. We don't get permission from the board of supervisors. And sure the hell don't get permission from the police department. And we're self-contained and independent from anyone thinking that you can buy us or buy Freedom School as a clearance tag. You cannot buy us. We're not for sale. Period. Fresno Unified, same thing. All these years Freedom School been existing. Fresno Unified has never knocked on our door and said, hey, we like the program. We see what quality kids you're putting out. No, they don't do that because they think they're going to come in and run our program and take it over. Oh, because you give us some after-school money? Hell no, it don't work like that. And they never will, not as long as I'm living, and the blood is running through my veins. We will always teach our children to be independent. We will always teach our children that they are the best. We will always teach our children that they need to go to HBCU college. We will always teach our children that they need to be business owners and not just laborers and workers and slaves. Their days are over with, period. So hear us tonight, y'all. I mean, we and let me say this to and I hope this gets to these folks. You know, you guys want to come on our show. And then all of a sudden, things happen. We get it. But then it's like, it's no big deal. The Black Agenda Network is no big deal. We'll you know, we go and we want to go. Let me tell you this. If you want to run for political office, you better knock on our door.
They're going to ask you
and you
questions.
better tell us what you're going to do for black people. When you come on our show, understand we're talking about black people and a black agenda.
That's right.
Because every other culture and ethnic in this city is worried about their own.
That's right.
They ain't worried about black folk, not worried about black children. And if you do, you're throwing us crumbs. We're tired of the crumbs. We want the pie now.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about the whole pie now.
Yep.
So I'm very serious about what we're saying today. So if you run for public office, know that myself and Aline will be contacting. Yeah. And if you feel that it's not important to come on our show, and we represent black folk and a black agenda, that's the worst thing you could ever. You just put the nail in your own coffin.
Well, you know, it's easy. It's true. Well, you know what, Rev? Nobody wants to talk about real issues. Nobody wants to ask real questions. They want easy answers to easy questions. And that's not us.
Aline, you brought up a good point when you walked in today. And you were sitting right over there. And you looked up on the wall. Because usually we have the banner up here.
Right.
Tell the people what you said when you seen this up here.
I
thought it was so profound.
Well, thank you. I looked and I said, you know what? This is a representation of where black people are right now. It's a blackout. It's blacked out. This is our mindset right now. Because everything that our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents worked for is all being dismantled. We're going to have to start again from scratch, and this is where we're at, right here.
That was so profound when I just came in that she said that. And I was like, wow. I looked at the wall, and I said, wow. We feel empty. We feel robbed.
Come on. We
can't get reparations.
Come on.
You destroyed all of our cities.
Come on.
You shoot us down like pigs and hogs, like George Floyd. So what in the hell is it we supposed to feel good about?
Right.
I mean, really. I wish someone would just sit me and say, you know, Reverend Harris, you should feel good about this, and you should feel good about that, and this and that. Send me a message. Maybe I don't see it. You know, I'll honor it. I'll look at it. You know, I'm not going to bite you. We don't bite. We love people, but we want to tell the truth.
We have to tell the truth because the truth will set you free if you act on it. But there's got to be action and not just words. And I say this as somebody who has been working in the community, you know, This is somebody who's been working in the community. And people in Fresno and in California like to name drop a lot. You know, they like to name drop. And that's okay. But when you drop a name that's in this room, you better drop it with the knowledge that, oh, well, if you're talking about Aline, well, then she's going to be talking about A, B, and C as it relates to black people. I will, and I do, and that's who I am, and I'm not changing for anybody, just like Reverend Harris is not changing for anybody. I've known Rev for well over 20 years. He's gotten older, I've gotten older. This is the same man that I knew when the West Fresno Democratic Club was started. You remember that, Rev?
Yeah.
That storefront?
Yeah.
A lot of people might not remember that, but I do.
Yeah.
Why? Because he was the first president. He was in the trenches then with the Democratic Party. This is the same Democratic Party that's been pretty much, abandoned black people in Fresno. Now, the West Fresno Democratic Club is now called the John R. Lewis Democratic Club. It's got new, leadership with Darren Miller, and I believe Darren is running for public office again, and in fact, Darren wants to come on the show on May 1st.
Sure.
So I've got to get back to him on that, and hopefully Keisha Thomas will come on the show. She was scheduled to come on the show a couple of weeks ago, but that didn't work out. She was out of town, and then we thought she was coming on, and that didn't work out. She wanted to know what we wanted to ask her, but that's not this kind of show. I mean, if you want those kind of questions in advance,
No, we don't do scripts. I don't do scripts. Aline don't do scripts. We don't write scripts or read anybody else's scripts.
No.
It is what it is. It's pure. It's 100. If you want to represent black people, you say you black, African, whatever you want to call yourself. And if I hear that, I'm going to want to know what. Here's a question I'm going to know. So I'm going to give you a little feeler right now. For those who want to run for office. I done ran for office. I done ran for mayor, the highest seat in this city, and came in 3rd place. Dyer, who's the mayor now, refused to debate me.
that's true.
Refused to debate me.
True.
And I came in 3rd out of 7 people and was the last one to file. So they know I know my fingers on the pulse of this community every day. I'm 911. Aline is 911. So we're not telling you stuff that we think, we're telling you stuff that we know.
It's true.
And if you mess with our black people and we find this unjust, we're going to move on you. Period. Not just locally, but nationally. Right? We're national known.
It's
Okay?
true.
So the fact of the matter is that I understand what it takes to run for office. Ran for West Fresno School District. Was on that board. I've been on different committees. I'm a gang rank here. So I'm not new to the game, I'm true to it. So understand when you come on our show, we're not going to be sitting there writing out, oh, this, that, can you ask? No, we're going to ask you verbatim, like we're talking. Ain't going to be no hidden stuff.
No, and nobody's trying to trip anybody else up. Nobody's trying to make anybody look foolish. People usually don't need help to be made to look foolish. They do that to themselves. And I'm far from perfect, just like every other human being.
Right.
I got flaws like everybody else. The only perfect human being in the world was crucified and nailed to a cross. We just celebrated Resurrection Day.
I just want to know what you're going to do for black people.
It's very simple.
Don't come in here in our show talking about Hispanics and Asians and all that, because they already got it going on. We're the forgotten ones. And I want to know, if you're going to be in office, I want to know what you're going to be doing, what's your plan, what's your agenda for black people. Now, you can tell everybody else whatever you want to tell them.
Exactly.
Because let me tell you this right now. When Cynthia Stroh, and we passed our time, but let me tell you this. I'm not in this to be liked. Let me make that clear. I don't care if you like me or not. It doesn't matter to me. If you like me, great. If you hate me, whatever. But what this is about accountability. Our community has been sold off
It's true.
for many, many years. Too many house Negroes in this community.
Come on. Tell the truth.
Too many sellouts in this community.
Come on, tell the truth and shame the devil.
So understand that we advocate for black issues. Period.
Right.
You can call us racist. I don't give a darn what you think.
Well,
But understand, if you run for office, that's your choice. And when we call you, send you a letter, you can reject the letter, say, you know what, the hell with y'all. Oh, that's fine too. Because I'm going to blast you out of the water. That's what we're going to do.
just remember that.
Just remember. Now, Cynthia's story, Aline, we're going to say this and we're going to go ahead and close our show. Was running for city council.
Mm-hmm.
And she had the nerves and the audacity. It was me, Nell Cole, may he rest in peace. She said, I said, look, you ain't done nothing in your first term.
Oh. Okay. Well, she didn't.
So this is the thing, see, white politicians want to run the black churches and black leaders, right? She's black. And I said, but you ain't done nothing for black people in your first term. Why would we support you in the second term?
Good question.
She said, well, I was getting my feet wet. Feet wet. But she was the same person who stood with Dyer, the district attorney, ATF, Homeland Security. And when that dude Duncan called blacks terrorists, you can go to YouTube and type it in. Matter of fact, do that anyway. He got some homework tonight. That was Duncan. Said they're like terrorists.
Like terrorists. Wow.
Those blowing up people in Iraq. He said something to that nature because it was an unfortunate situation, shooting in West Fresno, so I think the Latinos were got killed. But he wanted to run for office. See, you want to use black people as political guinea pigs. Not while I'm here, you know.
See.
Not while she here, you know. So Cynthia was standing behind Duncan when he said it. Her eyes popped open like that, like, oh my God, no, he didn't say that. Dyer kind of chuckled like, and I'm looking like, the hell y'all did say that about black people.
Yeah. And nobody
You
checked.
made reference to black people
As terrorists.
and people in Iraq. So you know what I did? I called them out. I called Duncan out. We called his office immediately. Said, we want to debate you on national radio for what you said about black people here.
Right.
Now, you may think that there's no other black people in this town that got no backbone. But I sure the hell got backbone. And I got a follow. Do you know that? Yeah, I'll debate you. Ran like an alley cat. But you could say stuff about black people politically because you wanted to run for mayor.
Right.
And you wanted to use us as a springboard.
That's right.
You know, listen, I'm not new to the game. I'm true to the game. So if you think we don't have no juice, then try us. Just try us.
Yeah, you're right though, Will.
Just try us.
You're right. But everybody want to take a bite out of black people.
Everybody.
Everybody want to take a... People write dissertations about black towns that are destroyed. I'm not going to name no names. They write books and papers about black towns. And this Heather person, she wanted, her hustle was, I can help you, advertise Freedom School. That was her hustle. I got it, Miss Heather. You wanted to make some money off some black people. You want to come save us.
Matter of fact, I mean, if you get a chance, buy it on the show. Tell her every question.
Oh yeah, and y'all will see for yourself. This is somebody who says, oh, she's definitely got a urban type accent. And, lived in New York, knows, good stuff and all. And I'm like, we were having a conversation until she started on Freedom School, and then I lost my mind because nobody talks about Freedom School.
Well, folks,
nobody.
We are at the end of our show, and we will be back next week. And who's on next week?
I am not sure who is on next week. I know if we have Darren on May 1st, we'll have Darren on May 1st, and next week we hope to have the young sister who is going to come on tonight and have her talk about.
Is that Keisha?
No, it's not Keisha. I can't remember the sister's name.
Okay.
Young sister. You were telling me about her earlier today. Yeah.
Okay, y'all. Well, we're going to end it there. I just want to send a message to black people right now. We love all people. I'm going to say that again. We love all people. We have a special love for black people.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask that black folks understand that your liberation in the 21st century is called unity. Put your differences aside, come to the table. Quit being a coon, quit being a house Negro, quit being a sellout. Take off the clearance tag. Throw it away.
Throw it away.
Tighten up your belt. Okay? Quit eating chicken and watermelon all the time. Eat some vegetables. Get strong. Be a man, be a woman and stand up for something.
That's right.
Because things is not going to get any easier.
It's only going to get worse in the next 3 years.
And I want you to know I'm watching everybody. Everybody.
That's our job.
Even everybody that's I watch folks in my church. I love folks in my church, but I watch them too. Because I know the almighty dollar is easy to buy for God.
Sure is.
There you have it. We thank you for listening tonight. The host, Dr. Harris, our co-host, Aline Reed, community leader, activist here in West Fresno. We love you, and we'll see you next week.
All right.